On today's episode of The Uptake, we talk about sketchnotes. We learn that stick figures are awesome, community support starts at any age, and we've got a community challenge for you, our audience. That and more in today's episode, so don't go away. Welcome to The Uptake. This is a new show about all things tech and community. I'm your host, Anna Chu. I'll introduce you to people all over the world covering topics in the world of tech, as well as uncover personal journeys of professional learning, development, and community building. We're going to discover and figure out together the answer to the question, what is community? In my day job, my team runs the Microsoft Tech community. I lead all things community for events such as Microsoft Ignite and Microsoft Ignite the Tour. But I also want to help you connect with people in the community through this podcast. If you've ever helped someone with a question, learned something new, or shared something that you've discovered in tech, then guess what? You're actually part of a community. My hope is that through the uptake, you will meet cool people in the community of tech and hear their stories, get inspired to be part of a vast and expanding community in your local area and beyond. So in this episode, I'm going to talk with Rebecca Jackson and Louise Fraser. Rebecca is a digital workplace and visual communication practitioner, and Louise is a digital workplace consultant. Louise is going to be my co-host for this episode, so I want to first welcome Louise to the uptake. Hi, Louise.
Hi. Hi, Anna. I'm so glad to be here.
I'm so glad to have you here as well. I first met you at Microsoft Ignite in Orlando a couple of years ago, and that's how we kind of got you hired as the chief Sketchnote artist for Microsoft Ignite back in 2018. So can you just tell us how you even got discovered as a Sketchnote artist?
Yeah, so I would say discovered by accident, but stayed on purpose. So I've got discovered as a sketchnote artist when I made my first sketchnotes, and this was in May 2018 at a conference in Germany. It's called European Collaboration Summit. It's my very favorite European conference, very close to my heart. And so before the conference, I wanted to prepare myself, and I thought, okay, so I need to take better notes, just because after 3 days of conference I will be totally brainwashed and brain dead, so I need just a little bit better technique to take my notes. And as I know that I'm a visual learner, so I really like to see images, and I know that images stick to my mind. I set up a little visual vocabulary, and I improved my handwriting, just because in the beginning I was not very secure if I could make that, but then I just did. So I just said, okay, come on, I will just do that. So, and I was taking sketch notes of a session at this conference, and a guy sat next to me, and he said, hey, this is amazing. Would you share that on Twitter? And I said, yeah, I can send you a direct message. And then he said, no, share it on Twitter, and do yourself a favor, tag the speaker. And so I tagged Dan Home, just because it was Dan Home's keynote. And he saw that on Twitter, and he was totally pumped about that, how I took my notes, and he wanted to meet me. And then he shared that, and he encouraged me to go on with sketchnoting. And so rest is history, because after that, I just sketchnoted at so many conferences, and shared everything on Twitter and LinkedIn and even on Insta, and people seem to like it. So community seems to like it already.
Yeah, it seems to be very well embraced in the community. And I'd be really curious, was sketchnoting your first introduction to community, or were you involved in community already?
So it was at the very first of the 365 conference where I wanted to attend. So I've not really been into community before, but I was so highly welcomed in community, and people were telling me, "Hey, this is really cool to be here. So please just stay. So and see you at next conference and at next SharePoint Saturday." And it, I just felt welcomed, and this was good.
I think people just react so well to, your visual interpretation of sessions that you've been to. And that's such a key part of, events, right? People are just certainly taking their own notes, but I think one of the big parts of community is really sharing that learning out loud. And there's something really easy about sketch notes that allow people to just easily like retweet or share it out and let people know. And then they can kind of like suddenly get it, right? So I think that's really cool. In fact, your sketch note last year in 2019 actually caught the attention of Satya too. Like that's just amazing.
Oh my God. So I still have no words for that, and perhaps you see me blushing right now, but it was like it was super amazing. So been at Ignite, and I saw the vision keynote by Satya, and I was taking my notes just because I thought, hey, it would be just cool if I took my sketch notes on this vision keynote. And yes, I know it's very shareable content, and this usually gets a lot of likes and retweets because it's easily shareable content and people appreciate it. But then Satya replied to my tweet, and I was like, oh my God. And the funny thing about the situation was because there were so many notifications on my phone at Ignite, I turned notifications off. So other people used to say, hey, Louise, did you know what happened? Satya replied, and I was like, this is a joke.
Yeah, right.
So they are just making fun out of me, and but then I realized because I saw it, and I was like, oh, okay, so this is not really going to happen. So this is just a dream or something like that. Just because, he said it was great to have me as an MVP, and that this is very creative, and that I got everything right what he told in his vision keynote. So I had a good day. Yeah.
It's on like I still remember the moment that I found you and we both like screamed together because it was just such an awesome day for you. So honestly, that was so cool.
And everyone was congratulating and saying, so, hey, Louise, good job. And everyone just felt happy for me. And this feels so special to me. So there's no one just like, ooh, why does she get attention? It's not me or something like that. Everyone is just like happy if someone is making progress, and everyone is just in love with his approach of sharing is caring. And I love it as well.
It's so good to see all our community support. It's so funny because once I met you, Louise, and I got introduced to this whole other community of sketchnote artists, and I learned about Rebecca's work too. Rebecca Jackson, she is also an MVP as part of that community, and she's our guest today as part of the sketchnoting episode of the Uptake. So Rebecca, why don't you do a little bit of an introduction to yourself so people can find out about your journey to become a sketchnote artist?
Well, thank you for having me. I'm really excited to be here with you guys. I've been sketchnoting, let's say I've been a sketcher all my life. I've always drawn and loved to doodle and things like that. But my sketchnoting journey specifically started maybe 7 years ago now. I participated in a UX class about using drawing for user experience design. So things like storyboarding and affinity mapping and those types of things. And part of that was a really small section on sketchnoting. And I'd never heard of it before, but I was like, here is a process that has a name for what I was doing in school and getting in trouble for. Like in school, you draw in your books and you get told off by the teachers. I was that kid. And so I just immediately connected with this process and started practicing in my own time. Like Louise, I went to an event, a local TEDx event, TEDx Melbourne, and I sat at the back and I was hiding. I was really nervous about it. And I did tweet them out, and the team really loved them and they were sharing them, and I was just like, wow, this is an amazing way to connect with people, to do something that I love. And like Louise was saying, instead of taking heaps and heaps of written notes or typing notes, it's much more engaging. It helps with your memory, and since then I sketchnote heaps of events. I've done training sessions, spoken about sketchnoting, and the joy that I get from drawing and connecting with people comes so much from that one moment in a class where I was like, wow, there's this thing called sketchnoting.
That's truly impressive. So Rebecca was drawing before, and she got into trouble for that. And I realized this happens to my kids as well. So when they're just like dreaming and drawing, and while they are doing this, they are listening, but they get into trouble for that. And Rebecca experienced the same. So and this is so different from my experiences, because I never drew, because I was told, hey, Louisa, you don't have any talent to draw, so please don't even try, just leave it. And I was totally disencouraged by that. And I just tweaked that and said, okay, I'm not creating arts. It's just information. So it's just another way to given information from point A to point B, and I need to draw just because typing on a keyboard doesn't connect to my mind. So I need this this movement with my hand, and I need to feel that I'm creating something. So that there wasn't something before, and it's not listening and drawing, it's more like listening by drawing. So the drawing makes it easier for me to process the information in my mind. So because so many people say to me, hey Louise, I couldn't do this at the same time, just like listening to a speaker and taking my notes. And I always say, yeah, but I listen by drawing that. So I can be very, very in my flow of being super relaxed but highly focused, and drawing makes this happen for me. And I think that that Rebecca experiences the same, even if she was drawing before that. So because
Absolutely, I
sometimes
think everybody's
we need
experienced in
that.
their life being told that their drawing is not good enough, and often that happens, I think at some point in primary school or whatever I
Yeah,
don't know what international equivalents are, but when you're
yeah,
younger than say 11 years old, someone
yeah,
will tell you your drawing is terrible, and
yeah,
put it out there. I was an art student, and I do like to practice really detailed drawings and sketches, but sketchnoting is completely different for me.
yeah,
It's not about having a finished piece of art, and I
yeah,
think removing yourself from that idea and just connecting to the content and doing something for the process of it is so
yeah,
important. And you will know, Louise, studies have shown that the connection between that the hand and the brain helps people to remember, and it doesn't even need
yeah,
to be a drawing of something, even just doodling, which I was a big doodler in the
yeah,
margins, like patterns
yeah,
and stuff. Even if you're doing that while listening, you can get a better better
yeah,
memory retention and better connection to the content. Because for me, doing
yeah,
that is actually concentrating. Sitting and
yeah,
watching someone and just trying to listen, my mind will actually wander. Whereas if I have my hand and I'm connecting to the speaker or the content in that way,
yeah.
I'm more able to concentrate.
Yeah, absolutely. I so agree. So, in my experience, when we tell people, hey, you're not good enough to do whatever it is, it will just disencourage them. And I think we need to be more like humans telling others, hey, perhaps you're not perfect, but if you practice, you will get better at that. And this does not only apply to making sketch notes or doing sketch notes or making art. It also applies to singing or coding or being a better consultant. So whatever you practice, you will become better at that. And
Absolutely.
if you learn that learning is the key, not knowing is the key. If you learn that while you do sketch notes, then you can apply this knowledge on everything else you need to achieve. And this was really an eye-opener for me. So I believed I had no talent because I had a mean teacher so I believed him. So when he said, Louise, you have no talent, I just believed him. But I realized when I was older that this was just a perfect self-excuse for me not to just sit on my ass and practice this stuff. So for sure, if you practice drawing, you will get better. If you practice coding, you will get better. If you practice singing, you will get better. So I think that this can tell you a lot about yourself and how you feel about that. And what I so love about sketchnoting is that this is a door opener to community. So people are so easily to engage with sketch notes. So they say, hey, this is cool, I recognize this part of the session, or cool that you captured this moment as well, or in my opinion it was something else, let's talk about that. So they are very, very easily to draw into a discussion, and so you make better connections to others, and this is what I love about it.
Yeah, a lot of what you're saying really resonates with me, because I remember being that kid in year 9 who thought I was really creative, and then all it took was one art teacher to say, you know what, you're pretty average. And then I was like, well, I guess there's no point in me putting any more effort into doing this. And it really messed me up in a way, because I really thought that being creative was part of my identity. But one person, all it took was one person to invalidate all of that. But what I'm hearing as a common element for both of you is that the community actually validated you. They actually encouraged you. They were that source of positivity to say, hey, keep doing it. Share it.
Yeah.
Let people see it. Let the world see it, right? Which is just really going to show how powerful the community is. I mean, all it took, Louise, was someone sitting next to you looking over your shoulder and saying, you should probably put it out on Twitter. Don't just DM it to me. Put it out there. And for you, Rebecca, like, do you feel the community play that same role for you in terms of encouraging you?
So I think the fact that people enjoy it, want to share it, and tell me they get value from it is very encouraging. Ultimately, I started doing sketchnoting for myself, for my own capture, and I try very much to still sketch with that mindset unless I'm being directly employed to do it. I'm sketching with the mindset of this is for me, it's a resource for me, and not worrying about what other people might need. But so many people will say, oh, I found that really useful. I shared that with my team. I printed it out and put it on my wall. In fact, Susan Hanley messaged me recently to say that she still had a sketch note that I did of one of her talks from 2015 on her wall, which is like, you know, I'm a fan of Sue, and I was like, that's so sweet. So that sort of encouragement is, you know, that encourages me to share more and keeps me going. And your story, Anna, about, you know, a teacher who told you you weren't that great, it's really interesting for me that it is often someone quite pivotal in your life who will say something like that and you'll just shut down, right? Because you trust them and you see them as an expert and you trust their opinion. But for Louise and I, in our experience, it was a stranger. Someone we didn't know well, a community that we weren't that connected with, who suddenly goes, hey, that's awesome and I really like it. It's so funny how people we trust can be the ones that break us down, but a group of strangers soon to become friends can be the ones to lift you up.
Yeah, that is so profound. I think
that's very, very, very true, and it really resonates with my feelings as well. Just because, at first community, this was strangers, And then I realized these are supporters, and they will always be there and help me. And I asked for help so many times in the last couple of years, and nobody said, "Hey, Louise, you can't just ask me that." So everyone helped me, and I always try to help as well. And I think, yeah. So you said it best, and community is the family you choose, and so we chose right. So we did a very, very good choice in this community.
Yeah, we've got some good ones in the community. It also spoke to me because it just shows how little effort it requires to actually lift someone up, as well as how little effort it requires to pull someone down too. So if people are out there in the community thinking, well, how can I contribute? Literally just sharing something that someone in the community created, or commenting something positive in response, can do so much to make someone's day, especially right now when we're all sort of in a self-quarantined world and we have to physically be distant from our friends and family. It's really quite tough to find some hope and even sources of inspiration, but there's a lot out there.
Someone these days reached out to me and said, "Hey, Louise, I just wanted to tell you I'm at home, I'm safe. I missed the conferences, and because I missed the conferences so much, I was going over your old sketch notes on Twitter, and then I felt this community again. It felt like a little bit beyond conference, and this was so heartbreaking, and I was so touched about that. So so they were down little discussing onions. So I literally had tears in my eyes because it was so.
Yeah, let's talk a little bit about that, because I think we're all very impacted by what's happening out there in the world, and it's affecting our community because many of us go to events that are all around tech. Rebecca, have you found that there are some events or local meetups that are no longer being held in person anymore in Melbourne specifically?
Thinking off the top of my head, all of the meetups that I follow and attend seem to have made a digital adjustment quite quickly. I think that is because of the type of events that I tend to go to. So it's Microsoft-related events and product management events, user experience design, and these are all people who tend to be very tech-oriented. So I feel like the switch to going to an online event is really easy for those groups, and a lot of them were set up for it already. What I wonder is what other user groups are out there that haven't been able to make the switch so quickly because they don't have those skills. And what I hope is that they're able to find content that our community is creating to be able to enable them to do that.
What about you, Louise? You mentioned that there are some European conferences that are really near and dear to your heart. Are they also affected over there?
Yeah, so conference after conference is saying, so hey, we can't do this in person. We will set up a virtual event for you at the same day, but we all know that we are kind of addicted to the hacks and meeting the people exactly face to face. So it's not really the same, but it's better than just doing nothing at all. I really appreciate that they do that. I offer help when it comes to hey, what shall we use, or how can we make that, or how can we make it accessible for everyone whenever my help is needed. But as Rebecca said, so I'm working in Office 365 and Power Platform. So this means that the events I'm interested in, the people already have appropriate skills and are very tech savvy. So that most of the time it's not a real hassle to do that.
I think the biggest shift is not so much in small community and user groups, but it's the larger events. So we on the call know that Microsoft made the shift to make MVP Summit completely online, which was amazing. And I personally was still able to have work support me to attend that event fully and properly. So wow. I wasn't, for the most part, trying to juggle work. I was attending, which was amazing. But those larger events that are often they're a paid event because they cost money to run, I think will struggle to replicate the format. Having said that, though, what I look forward to is the innovation in that space, is seeing how bigger conferences are able to adapt. And Louise said accessibility before. We're making content more accessible by having it online. So through every challenge, there's a silver lining, right? We're going to see people innovate and do cool stuff, and things will be available in a different way.
But, in lieu of events and being physically closer to each other, I think, we're all trying to find ways to skill up. And I think before we even join this podcast, we're talking a little bit about putting out a challenge to our listeners to do potentially their first sketch note ever. So, Rebecca, do you want to talk a little bit about the challenge we want to put out there?
Yeah, what we thought would be great is if you could do a sketch note about a day or a week in your life right now. And a lot of people's lives have changed significantly recently. Almost everyone's lives have changed significantly. So use drawing and sketchnoting as a medium to put on paper or digitally, whatever is your medium of preference, whatever you're comfortable with, and show us, what does your day or your week look like? Are you still going to work? Are you newly working from home? Are you already working from home, but now your wife and your kids are there? Everybody's situation is different, and just show people what your life looks like. Louise, did you want to add to that?
So I think this is just a fantastic idea. First, you really connect with that, and I'm so curious about how differently those sketch notes could look like, and to compare that, not in terms of who did that better, but just it's just more cake to eat. And I would so love to see that, and I'm very, very curious, and I hope that we can publish that, so when people just reach out to us and say, hey, this is my sketch note of my working from home life right now, that we can share this to a broader audience.
Yeah, so there's a hashtag that I commonly use, hashtag Sketchnotes. But what I think would be a great idea is Louise and I will pull together some resources for Anna to share when the podcast goes out, so that people who haven't done it before have got some reference points, so they don't feel too nervous about just jumping in there, just everyone have a go. And it's beautiful, Louise, when you see the same concept from so many different people. We get all these different perspectives and different styles, different tools. It's a wonderful thing.
Yeah. Just goes to show there's no one right answer, right? Like everyone's interpretation is valid. Everyone has different perspectives, and they only just make that whole tapestry work together. It's actually really interesting to see it from someone else's eyes than from what your own interpretation was. So the challenge is being put out there. If you've got a sketch note that you'd like to share with us, tweet it at the Uptake Pod, which is our Twitter handle, and we'll get Louise and Rebecca to take a look. And if you've got any questions for them on how to start your first sketch note, they've got a lot of different resources out there. You should follow them on Twitter as well, and we'll include their handles in this podcast and in all of the tweets that are related to this episode. So please make sure you check that out. I'm going to give this a go. I'm going to try and, overcome my own imposter syndrome and attempt to sketch something. It might just be stick figures. I hope you're okay with that. But ultimately,
stick figures are
I'm
awesome.
saying it's okay for
stick figures are awesome. I love stick figures. So, I always say to everyone who wants to learn sketchnoting, if you can draw a square and a circle and perhaps a triangle and just a stroke, it's perfect. So if you can draw this is just our alphabet, and then you can draw whatever you like, and it's more about practice than it is about talent. And for sure, Rebecca and I, we will just put up some resources together, or perhaps a little blog post for how to get started if you think you can't draw.
Yeah, if you draw a stick figure, Anna, everyone's going to know what you mean. It's a circle with a stick and some arms and some legs,
Yeah.
and it's like that's a little person. And if you
Yeah.
like, you could put some clothes on it if you want, give it a smile. People know.
Yeah.
Kids can do it.
Yeah. Well, this has been a really great episode. I hope you all got to learn a little bit about the world of sketchnoting. There's a whole community of sketchnote artists out there. So if you are interested to learn, just follow that hashtag sketchnotes, as Rebecca mentioned earlier. But why don't we try and figure out like where to go? Let's so Rebecca, like where's the best place for people to find your sketchnotes?
My sketch notes. I think Twitter's probably the best place to come for me. So I'm at _Rebecca Jackson on Twitter. And from there, you can get to my blog posts and my Flickr, which is where I put most of my sketch notes.
Louise, how do people get a hold of you and check out your sketch notes?
Yeah, so find me on Twitter. So best work is Twitter search at Louise Fraser, and then just hashtag sketchnote. This will pull you out all the sketch notes I did. So most of the time I sketchnote sessions that are very in the moment. So I thought about putting them on a website or more in a repository, but then I was like, no, it's just Twitter. So you will find them if you search them, and otherwise they just stay in the context of a conference.
Awesome. And I heard that you've got a little side hustle going on, Louise. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, so I partnered up with Elios Drup, and we are both very, very sticker addicted, and we set up a little website for stickers. It's called Pimp Your Own Device, so .com. We will launch it most probably tomorrow, which is a funny coincidence. And I drew a lot of stickers already, and I'm always pleased to see all the stickers on laptops. Even if I don't know the people, I know the stickers. This is making a connection to community as well. And yeah, so this is my new side hustle together with Elio, and I'm very excited to announce this year.
I'm really excited about that. I'm a huge sticker nerd, and I love your stickers, both of your stickers.
Oh, thank you.
And I've already got some in the mail, hopefully coming from Elio. But yeah, like all of my devices and all of my sketchnote books, actually, when I do use paper, all covered in stickers. So bring it on, more stickers.
Oh, cool. So yeah. So and we were talking about a cool name, and everyone is just like, bring your own device, and we said, okay, so pimpyourowndevice.com, and this could be just like, yeah, for us nerds. And yeah, I'm very, very happy, and I'm looking forward to all the stickers on laptops and notebooks.
Yeah, we've all have to like pimp our own device, whether it's your phone, your laptop. We all need to give our devices some personality, since they're going to be doing so much work for us while we're working remotely. But when the moment comes when we can actually go back out into coffee shops and work again, we'll have these amazingly decorated laptops to show off. So can't wait to check out the launch of your new side hustle. Thank you, Louise. Well, that pretty much brings us to a wrap today. Thank you so much, Rebecca, for being our guest for our sketchnoting episode, and my fellow co-host, Louise. I hope you all take on the challenge to do your sketchnote. Send us, to our Twitter handle at the Uptake Pod. That's the Twitter handle for this podcast. And send us a sketch note of what your work from home day or week looks like. I think this might be a really great way for us to all come together and see how our different schedules work, what doesn't, how do you stay sane? How do you keep your pet at bay? How do you keep your pet rabbit at bay? In the case of Rebecca, she's got a really cool pet rabbit called Frank that I can't wait to see. Oh, hi, Frank. How old is Frank?
Frank's, he's a geriatric rabbit. So we found him. So we think he's about 9 or 10 years old. So he's an old, very old bunny. He's an old man. He's got arthritis.
Aww.
So he's not as hoppity as he used to be.
Aww.
And
He looks
he's
so
always
fluffy.
Oh, he is. He needs a brushing. That's why I didn't want to pick him up before, because I'll be covered in fur now.
So yeah, we'd love to see, you know, how your week or how your day looks from a work from home perspective, or if you don't work from home, even if you still happen to work right now, we'd love to see what that looks like for you. I highly encourage you all to visit the Microsoft Tech community to find any events that might be still going on around you in the world. As we mentioned earlier, many of them are starting to go digital as we are all combating the coronavirus today. So check them out. We're starting to see a lot of them crop up in the tech community. So please take a look. And while you're there, there's so many other resources for you as you're thinking about, you know, skilling up, such as the resources on Microsoft Learn. Our learning paths are all there. There are lots of blogs that you can follow. If you missed out on any recent events, we've got some really cool event recaps there too. So go to techcommunity.microsoft.com. If you join, I guarantee you'll meet some cool people and maybe get a couple of your questions answered. So take a look. If you'd like to reach out to us, cool people that you'd like us to interview as part of the Uptake, please follow me on Twitter @_HU and give me some tips there. If you subscribe to the show, there are many different ways to do that. You can find us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube for the video content. So wherever you find your podcasts, you can follow us there. And if you enjoy the Uptake, please share it with your friends. It really means a lot to us. If you spread the word to your colleagues in your community, it really helps us all connect as humans, because we need it more than ever right now in this moment. So on behalf of the tech community, I'd like to thank you for spending some time with us today. I'm Anna Chu, and I will speak to you next time. Thanks so much.